The vegetable lamb of Tartary, Latin Agnus Sicythius or Planta tartica barometz, is a legendary zoophyte of Central Asia, once believed to grow sheep as its fruit. It was believed the sheep were contained in the plant by an umbilical cord and grazed the land around the plant. When all accessible foliage was gone, both the plant and sheep died. Underlying the legend is the cotton plant, which was unknown in northern Europe before the Norman conquest of Sicily. That's crazy. Characteristics. Thomas Brown's Pseudodoxica epidemica named it as the Boromez. Man himself. In Ephraim Chambers' Cyclopedia, Agnus Sicythicus was described as a kind of zoophyte said to grow in Tartary, resembling the figure and structure of a lamb. It was also called Agnus vegetabilis, Agnus tarticus, and bore the reported endonyms of Boromets, Boromez, and Boronets. In his book, The Vegetable Lamb of Tartary, 1887, Henry Lee describes the legendary lamb as believed to be both a true animal and a living plant. However, he states that some writers believe the lamb to be the fruit of a plant, sprouting forward from melon-like seeds. Others, however, believed the lamb to be a living member of the plant that, once separated from it, would perish. The vegetable lamb was believed to have blood, bones, and flesh like that of a normal lamb. It was connected to the earth by a stem, similar to an umbilical cord, that propped the lamb up above ground. The cord could flex downward, allowing the lamb to feed on the grass and plants surrounding it. Once the plants within reach were eaten, the lamb died. It could be eaten once dead, and its blood supposedly tasted sweet like honey. Its wool was said to be used by the native people of its homeland to make head coverings and other articles of clothing. The only carnivorous animals attracted to the lamb plant, other than humans, were wolves. Possible origins. The Greek historian Pseudo wrote of trees in India, the fruit whereof is a wool exceeding its beauty and goodness that of sheep. The natives make their clothes of this tree wool. That's some link. There is mention of a similar plant animal in Jewish folklore as early as AD 436. This creature, called the Yedua, don't know how to read, I'd assume that's Yiddish, was like a lamb in form and sprouted from the earth connected to a stem. Those who went hunting the Yedua could only harvest the creature by severing it from the stem with arrows or darts. Once the animal was severed, it died, and its bones could be used in divination and prophetic ceremonies. Again. An alternative version of legend tells of a jedua, a human-shaped plant animal connected to the earth from a stem attached to its navel. The jedua was believed to be aggressive, though, grabbing and killing any creature that wandered too close. Like the baromets, it too died once severed from its stem. The Minorite friar Audric of Pordenau, upon recalling first hearing of the vegetable lamb, told of trees on the shore of the Irish Sea with gourd-like fruits that fell into the water and became birds called barnacles. He is referring to the legendary plant animal known as the barnacle tree, which was believed to drop its ripened fruit into the sea near the Orkney Islands. The ripened fruit would then release barnacle grease. Geese. Barnacle geese. I'm so sorry. They would live in the water, growing to mature geese. The alleged existence of this fellow plant animal was accepted as an explanation for migrating geese from the north. In his work, The Shi-Yang, or Water Sheep, and the Agnus Sicythicus, or Vegetable Lamb, Gustav Schlegel points to Chinese legends of the water sheep as inspiration for the legend of the vegetable lamb of Tartary. Much like the vegetable lamb, the water sheep was believed to be both plant and animal, and tales of its existence placed it near Persia. It was connected to the ground by a stem, and if the stem were severed, it would die. The animal was protected from aggressors by an enclosure built around it and by armored men yelling and beating drums. Its wool was also said to be used for fine clothing and headdresses. In turn, the origin of water sheep is an explanation for sea silk. In search of the legend. Earlier versions of the legends tell of the lamb as a fruit, springing from a melon or gourd-like seed, perfectly formed as if born naturally. As time passed, the idea was replaced with the notion that the creature was indeed both a living animal and a living plant. Schlegel, in his work on the various legends of the vegetable lamb, recounts the lamb being born without its horns, but with 2 puffs of white, curly hair instead. The 14th century book, The Travels of Sir John Mandeville, is credited with bringing the legend to the public attention in Europe. Matt Simon, his book Fantastically Wrong, when people thought lambs grew right out of the ground. It's an article for Wired. It describes a strange gourd-like fruit grown in Tartary. Once ripe, the fruit was cut open, revealing what looked like a lamb in flesh and blood but lacking wool. The fruit and the lamb could then be eaten. That's crazy considering the whole point was that it drops wool. Friar Odric of Friary, Yoli, much like Mandeville, traveled extensively and claimed to have heard of gourds in Persia that, when ripe, opened to contain lamb-like beasts. In the Renaissance, the lamb of Tartary was a frequent object of philosophical and botanical debate. It became an important heuristic to discuss the natural order of things and the Aristotelian scale of beings. The mid-16th century Sigismund von Herberstein, who in 1517 and 1526 was the ambassador to the emperors Maximilian I and Charles V, presented a much more detailed account of the Baramets in his Notes on Russia. He claimed to have heard from too many credible sources to doubt the lamb's existence, and gave the location of the creature as being near the Caspian Sea, between the Jake and Volga rivers. The creature grown from the melon-like seeds described was said to grow to 2.5 feet, or 0.76 meters perhaps, resembling a lamb in most ways except a few. It was said to have blood, but not true flesh, as it more closely resembled that of a crab. Unlike a normal lamb, its hooves were said to be made of parted hair. It was the favorite food of wolves and other animals. In 1698, Sir Hans Sloane claimed a Chinese tree fern, Cibotium baramets, was the origin of the myth. Sloane found this specimen in a Chinese cabinet of curiosities he acquired. The lamb is produced by removing the leaves from a short length of the fern's woolly rhizome. While the rhizome is inverted, it fancifully resembles a woolly lamb, with the legs being formed by the severed petal bases. The German scholar and physician Engelbert Kampfer, accompanied by an embassy to Persia in 1683 with the intention of locating the lamb. After speaking with native inhabitants and finding no physical evidence of the lamb plant, Kempfer concluded it to be nothing but legend. However, he observed the custom of removing an unborn lamb from its mother's womb in order to harvest the soft wool, and believed the practice to be a possible source of the legend. He speculated further that museum specimens of the fetal wool could be mistaken for a vegetable substance. In poetry, we're going to be doing some poetry today. In Erasmus Darwin's work, The Botanic Garden, he writes the Baramets. E'en round the pole the flames of love aspire, and icy bosoms feel the secret fire. Cradled in snow and fanned by arctic air, shines, gentle Baramets, thy golden hair. Rooted in earth, each cloven foot descends, and round and round her flexile neck she bends, crops the grey coral moss and hoary thyme, or laps with rosy tongue the meeting rhyme, eyes with mule tenderness her distant dam, and seem to bleat a vegetable lamb. Julien de Salutes de Batas writes the vegetable lamb in his poem La Semanie. In the poem, Adam wanders the Garden of Eden and is amazed by the peculiarity of the creature. Joshua Sylvester translates, "But with true beasts, fast in the ground still stickling, feeding on grass and the airy moisture licking, such as those boromets in Scythia bred, of slender seeds and with green fodder fed, although their bodies, noses, mouths, and eyes of new-yearned lambs have full the form and guise, and should be very lambs, save that for foot within the ground they fix a living root." That does not rhyme, this guy's lying. "Which at their navel grows and dies that day, that they have browsed the neighboring grass away. Oh, wondrous nature of God only good! The beast hath root, the plant hath flesh and blood. The nimble plant can turn it to and fro, the numbed beast can neither stir nor go. The plant is leafless, branchless, void of fruit. The beast is lustless, sexless, fireless, mute. The plant with plants his hungry paunch doth feed. The admired beast is sown a slender seed." In his work Connubia Florum, Latanio Carmine Demonstraria, Delacroix writes the vegetable lamb, "For in his path he sees a monstrous birth. The boromets arises from the earth. Upon a stalk is fixed a living brute. A rooted plant bears quadruped for fruit. It is an animal that sleeps by day, and wakes at night, though rooted in the ground, to feed on grass within its reach around." Decent poems. Good work, fellas. Cultural references. Dennis D. Drott wrote an article about the vegetable lamb, Agnesithecus, in the first edition of the Encyclopedia. After describing the purely vegetable nature of the so-called lamb, he noted, "This article will give us the occasion to express more useful ideas against superstition and prejudice than merely to question the usefulness of the Scythian lamb as a cure for spitting blood." In the manga series Monster Musume, the characters Kot and Ton are portrayed as anthropomorphic baromets. In the video game Odin Sphere, the heroes can plant baromet seeds and harvest sheep from them for hit point replenishment and recipes. The manga Delicious in Dungeon depicts a baromet's plant whose fruit naturally grows into the shape of a sheep. In the 18th episode of Little Witch Academia anime series, characters Constans and Akko require a baromet's plant for the development of the starship mecha. In Madu Monogatari RPG series and its puzzle game spin-off series Puyo Puyo, there is an enemy character named Baromet, who is depicted as a sheep whose lower half is converted in an oversized red tomato. See also legendary creature, vegetable sheep. I don't know what this article is. It seems important to the whole story. I'm not gonna click on it though. That's all I was here to do here today. Another interesting one. Another one about animals, hoaxes, things of the past. Thanks for stopping by.